The first session is around police, justice, and CSIS. Those are really heavy topics to start the morning. That's good. We get to have another coffee. Get another coffee or a glass of water or a sugar shot with a granola bar or a candy. So this is about knowing your human, legal, and civil rights. And I'm pleased to welcome Lila Mansour and Zila Jones to lead us through this discussion.
So, I'm Zilla, this is Lila. We are going to tell you about your human, legal, and civil rights in Canada. I think the first thing that we would both say is that number one priority is always your safety. So, yes, we want you to know your rights and know what you're entitled to, but always put your personal safety first. So we want you to come out of situations alive, uninjured. We can deal with pretty much everything else after that. So just as a reminder, I guess we'll go to a land acknowledgement. So the first slide that was up was a land acknowledgement. I know we just had a land acknowledgement, but just to reiterate that we're on Treaty 1 territory at the crossroads of the Red and Assiniboine Rivers. It's a historic gathering place for the Anishinaabe, Neniwak, and Nishinawak, Dakota, Oyate, and Dene-Celine, and the birthplace and homeland of the Red River Métis. So we can never say that enough times, so say it again. Next slide, please. And there was also, I guess, I would just add to that an African ancestral acknowledgement. Okay, maybe it's coming. So policing, go back. I'm not sure if that's there. So African ancestral acknowledgement, just basically acknowledging for those of African ancestry who have come through the human trafficking and the enslavement period that we acknowledge our ancestors. So policing as an institution enforces colonial laws and occupation. So we know that in Canada, the police, especially the RCMP, had a very specific role to come and clear the land of Indigenous people for settlement. And that went hand in hand with bringing policing to Canada. So the laws we have are colonial. They were made by the colonial authorities. They were not the original laws of the Indigenous people of the land. And so this institution continues to forcibly remove Indigenous peoples from their lands, protect state and corporate interests, and systematically fails to protect Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people from alarming violence at all levels. And here in Winnipeg, we know that very intimately, that we've had lots of incidences of missing and murdered women and girls in this city, and we're still dealing with those issues. The RCMP, as I said, was instrumental in implementing and enforcing the residential school system, which we now recognize as a genocide. White supremacy and the historic enslavement and segregation of African people is a further lens through which discriminatory policing today must be understood. So, of course, speaking of enslavement, that also went hand in hand with policing, that during the times of enslavement, there were laws saying where enslaved people could go, where they could travel, what they could do, what they couldn't do, and that was brutally enforced by capital punishment. And then those same overseers that were dealing that punishment became the police. And so Black people also continue to deal with that. It is critical we acknowledge our ongoing colonial violence and the mass incarceration of Indigenous and Black people. We know those rates are extremely high in this country, too high. People who face challenges with the police include unhoused people, those with mental health challenges, people who use drugs, people who are HIV positive, and gender diverse people. So now we can go to the next slide. Why is it important to understand your rights? So it is very important to understand how to navigate the legal systems and interactions with the police, just in case you are ever in that situation. Sometimes police enforcing the law do not follow or respect these rules. They may not even be aware of them. Knowing your rights helps you to advocate for yourself. If you know what you're supposed to get, you can tell them, I'm supposed to get this. As a settler legal society, we have a particular responsibility to understand how colonial laws protect the unlawful occupation of these lands and disempower and control Indigenous peoples and other disproportionately targeted communities. So we need to understand our history, essentially. Next slide. Oh, I think I had an addition to that, so I'll just share it if I can remember what it was. Can you go back 2 slides? When you are if you are arrested or someone you love or care about is arrested, the choices you make when you're in police custody, when you're first arrested, impact the choices you will have later. So your lawyer can help you more if you know your rights and follow what you're entitled to. Then you have more options. It's easier to get bail. It's easier to have better outcomes in the justice system. If we can go forward. One more. Okay, so your rights. So we can go one more forward. So that's a copy of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Everybody should know about this. I know they give you this so you become a citizen. I got one when I became a citizen. I had on my wall for many years. So these are essentially our civil rights as Canadian citizens or landed immigrants or people living here in this country. And we'll go through the relevant ones separately. We can go to the next, and that is part of the Constitution as well. So the one, go back one, right here, yeah. So the rights that are relevant to what we're talking about today is Section 7, which gives everyone life, liberty, and security of the person. And that includes your right to silence. That's sort of being incorporated into that section. So in the US, they say life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We say life, liberty, security of the person. So you have the right to be free from mental or physical torture or distress or harm. Section 8 gives you the reasonable expectation of privacy and to be free from unreasonable search. So that has to do with police being able to come into your home or stop you or pat you down, things like that. Section 9, you have the right not to be arbitrarily detained or imprisoned without legal authority. So police can't just pick you up because they feel like it. There has to be a reason. And Section 10 gives you the right to be informed of your rights upon arrest or detention, including your right to speak to a lawyer. So you have to be told why you are being arrested when you are arrested right away. And you have to be given a chance to contact a lawyer as soon as is reasonably possible. And Section 15 gives you equality rights. So everyone in Canada has a right to equality regardless of race, religion, gender, a number of other factors. We can go to the next one, please. And I'll let Lila take over.
Okay, so a little bit about police power and where police's power is derived from. So power typically comes from provincial policing legislation, such as the Police Act or Provincial Services Act. It depends on the province that you're in. A lot of criminal law also comes from the common law, so decisions and the courts, all level of courts, have made decisions in regards to the extent of people's rights, people who are imprisoned, how police are allowed to act and behave, the right to silence, many court decisions in that regard. And police are supposed to preserve the peace, prevent crime, protect life and property. But as we do know, unfortunately, police have used their power to disproportionately target racialized and marginalized communities. We can go to the next slide. So a little bit about interacting with the police. You can go to the next slide. So you may be approached by a police officer at any point in time, and this may be a voluntary conversation. So they may approach you, they might try to act friendly and have a conversation with you, and this may be to try to get information from you, information about something, a crime that you may have committed or somebody that you know may have committed, and they may try to find reasons to detain you by having you say or provide information that may incriminate you, for example. So while it may seem that you're just having a casual conversation, they're asking you, where were you? Where are you going? Where have you been? You have to be very careful because everything that you say is on the record. There's never a conversation with a police officer that is off the record, and everything that you say can be used as evidence against you in court.
Even gestures like nodding your head or shaking your head or crying or anything like that.
Next slide. So, you can choose to speak to the police, and especially if you've witnessed information. For example, there may have been a car accident, you may have been a witness to it. You are able to provide that information, but you can never be forced to speak to a police officer except in very specific circumstances. And if you don't want to speak to a police officer, if you are ever approached, you should ask, am I free to go? And if the answer is yes, you can leave. But if the answer is no, this is the test to know that you have been detained at this point. And you always have the right to remain silent. We'll discuss this right further, but you always have the right to remain silent. You do not have to answer police questions. Next slide. Filming police, this has become something that we see more frequently, especially on social media. You do have the right to film police. Police cannot tell you that you cannot film unless you're in the way and they ask you to move due to a safety issue or them not being able to carry out their duties. If the police do take away your phone for whatever reason, you can tell them clearly that you do not consent to this, but do not physically resist because it could be dangerous to you and it could also lead to further criminal charges. And if you have been reported by the police. So because a lot of police have their own body cameras and other cameras, you can ask the police for a copy in writing. And if you've been charged with an offense, you have a right to access all police footage and camera footage. Next slide. Now, unfortunately, there can be random police checks. Although it's illegal across most of Canada for the police to just randomly stop someone and start asking for information, except in the case of an investigation or someone's driving, this unfortunately does happen. And random police stops do interfere with everyone's fundamental liberties and freedoms and often leads to profiling and discrimination and stopping people specifically because of how they act or how they appear. Random police stops are not legal, but they unfortunately do continue to happen. Nova Scotia is the only place in Canada that has a very clear ban on this. And so it's very important that you are aware that unfortunately this continues to persist. Next slide. So a little bit about the right to remain silent, and it will be a recurring theme throughout the presentation. When you are being investigated for a crime, you have the right to remain silent, and it's best that you do not say anything to the police until you have spoken to a lawyer and gotten legal advice. The police may continue to ask you questions, so you may assert the right and tell them, I want to stay silent, I want to speak to a lawyer, and they may continue to ask you questions and try to pester you, but you have to continue to assert your right, despite their attempts to try to get you to speak. And just because you've exercised the right to silence, it cannot be used against you to try to say, oh, they didn't, the police can't say, oh, this so-and-so didn't speak to me, that therefore it shows that they're guilty. It can never be used against you in court.
So one thing to add to that is that you have the right to silence. It doesn't mean the police are going to be silent. Mm-hmm. So that often confuses people. So if you're in the room with the police and you say, oh, my lawyer told me not to say anything, that's what I always tell people to say because then it kind of pins it on your lawyer. So my lawyer told me not to say anything. And they can say, well, that's fine. We just want to talk about, this little boy that got beat up and look at these pictures and doesn't he look terrible and don't you feel bad? My lawyer told me not to say anything. Yeah, but I just want to know, do you know this person? They can still continue to try to engage with you and you have to say it several times. So what I sometimes tell people is to put their head down on the desk, or if you're wearing a hoodie, sometimes you can put your hood on your head. They hate that. And they'll say stuff like, oh, you're being so immature, you're being so childish, why don't you look me in the eyes? You can't look me in the eyes. They'll try to goad you, right? But just pretend I can't hear, kind of like the little kid, la la la, exactly. I can't hear you. You can even cover your ears if you want, right? It doesn't matter how stupid it looks, you're protecting yourself, right? So just do what you have to do to not look at them and not engage with them. And you will thank yourself later. Future you will thank present you for doing that.
Really great tip. Next slide. So, identifying yourself to the police. So most of the time, according to the law, you do not have to give the police any information about yourself, but there are some certain circumstances where you do have to provide your name and your address, such as if you're under arrest, if you're driving a car, because in Canada driving a car is a privilege, so you do have to identify yourself. However, passengers in the car do not have to give their names or addresses. And lastly, if a police officer is giving you a ticket because you've broken the law in some way, or they're giving you an appearance notice or a summons, they obviously need to identify and make sure that you are who they believe that you are. And lastly, if you are unhoused for whatever reason or you don't have an address, you can tell the police and let them know that you don't have a fixed address or let them know that you are currently unhoused. Next slide.
Do not ever give a fake name or somebody else's name or your brother's name. Don't ever do that. You'll get charged. They will figure it out pretty fast these days. They have fingerprints. They have all kinds of ways to figure that out, and just gets you more trouble. So don't do that. Give your real name.
Perfect. So if the police tell you, do you want to leave? You can ask them, am I able to go? Because sometimes it may be a trap in a way to ask you, do you want to leave? You ask them, can I leave? And if they say yes, you should go to to avoid further questioning, unnecessary questioning. And if they tell you that you're not free to go, the next question should be, am I under arrest? And then if the answer is yes, ask why. You have the right to know why you're under arrest. And then if you are in fact under arrest and they do confirm, do assert your right to silence. So say, I want to remain silent. I want to speak to a lawyer. Those are your rights. Your right to silence and your right to speak with legal counsel. Do give your name and address if the police ask. And it's a great idea to get the police officer's badge number in case you need to make a complaint in the future about their conduct towards you or anything. And if you are not under arrest and you're told that you can't leave for whatever reason, ask why. Try to understand why. And again, get the police officer's badge number so you can, if needed, make a complaint in the future.
Are we doing questions at the end?
Do you have one now?
Yeah,
I do. Are there any?
So we should do them as we go along, I think.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
makes
information.
sense.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is so great. I just have a question. Are there any circumstances under which the police are not required by law to give you a reason for your arrest?
No.
Because I know, even under suspicion of terrorism, which is something that Muslims were concerned about when it happened, greatly 10 years ago. If it's a situation of national security.
That's
is
different.
that not
That's
true?
it.
Yeah, national
Yeah.
security is different. I mean, that's not something that I deal with personally,
Yeah,
so I don't have a lot of knowledge on that, but I know that there are exceptions for national security, so you're probably not dealing with police for that. Maybe RCMP, I guess. But that would be a special unit. So yes, there would be times of national security where I think they are allowed to keep things confidential that they feel could be security risk, and that is the tricky one, right? Because they can misuse that. But you should consult with someone that's practicing in that area that knows that area. But regular police, no, they have to tell you. That is your right to be told. If I'm being arrested for robbery, they have to tell me it's a robbery. They can't tell you for something else. I once had a guy that they didn't want to tell him they were arresting for drug dealing because they didn't want the bigger drug dealer to know, so they said it's a robbery and lied, but they knew it was drug dealing, so that's wrong. They have to tell you what it actually is. But yeah, if you're dealing with those big national security things, then you need to get help from somebody that's in that area.
Yeah, they're a bit of a black box.
Yeah.
You can't find a lot of information
Yeah.
online either. It's very, very secretive. Yeah.
I just wanted to recap. So, you're only required to give them your name and your address if they detain you or if you're driving.
Right.
Yes, if you're driving or you've been arrested,
Okay.
you're being arrested,
Not-
or they're trying to serve you with a
Yeah.
legal document.
Okay, and I heard somewhere before that if you are riding a bicycle, that counts as driving. So if they stop you while you're riding a bicycle, you also have to.
If they're giving you a ticket, I mean, that's funny, because I think I had that's one of the big ways that racialized people in Winnipeg do get detained is for, as you were laughing, we see it a lot, it's got a specific name, it's riding a bicycle with a tire that's larger than, I think 3.5 inches or something like that. So yes, that's a ticket, because technically you are not supposed to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. So if you're riding a bicycle and you're violating a traffic law, then they're going to give you a ticket for that, so you would have to give them your name and address.
Okay.
But they can't just say, hey, you, what's your name?
They can.
Because you're just walking by or riding by. So
No,
if they say that,
they
yeah.
can say that, you don't have to respond.
Well, yes, that's true. They can say that,
Police
but
can engage in conversation
Yes.
anytime they want.
that's true. Yeah, but you
Exactly.
you can ignore it. And if they keep saying, "Come here, am I being detained for anything? Am I doing anything wrong? Are you giving me a ticket?" You can ask those questions.
That's the reason
No,
why.
we just want to talk to you. Well, I don't want to talk to you. Sorry, bye. Right?
Yeah.
So
That's why you got to know
Yeah.
your rights, because they can
Yeah.
ask you stuff, but you
Yeah.
don't have to answer. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of people don't know.
yeah,
Question, sorry.
yeah.
Mhm.
So is it possible sometimes if the police came to you, so just delete talking,
Just talking,
like
small, just hi,
Small
how are you?
talk.
yeah.
They can do that, but you don't have to talk back to them, right? If it's just sometimes I'll see police on the street. They're like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey," nothing wrong with that, right? They're people, right? They can say hello, but if you don't like what they're talking about, or you think that it's suspicious, or you feel like it's not making you feel right about the situation, then you can leave unless they tell you you can't. So you can say, "Why are you talking to me?" If he's like, "Well, I just want to talk." Okay, you can make those decisions, right? But once they say detained, once they say arrested, once they say charged, once they say ticket, now you are in a different situation, right? But if it's just talk, then you don't have to.
And if you start feeling uncomfortable,
Yeah.
Maybe just talk a little about psychological detention, because people might not,
That's a good thing.
if you get to that
Good
level,
point.
then fine, but if you don't remember this, for example,
Yeah.
if you don't remember to say, I don't want to talk to you, am I being detained? You can still be detained. Those words aren't magic. You can,
Yeah.
because as racialized folks, if you're surrounded by the police, you may feel a certain way, but that feeling matters, right, Zilla?
Yes, exactly. So, because there's that power differential, right? The police have guns. There might be two of them. Only there's one of you. They might be bigger than you. They might be white people. You're not a white person. Like there could be all kinds of reasons. Maybe they're men. You're a woman. Why you don't feel like you can, and that's why I said your safety always comes first. So like you may not feel comfortable saying, I want my lawyer, or do I have the right to silence, or am I under arrest? So you should still keep silent, at the very least. Follow the directions, but make sure that you tell your lawyer right away when you talk to them that I felt intimidated, I felt like I couldn't, try and remember the details, right? Like one was standing in front of me, one was standing behind me, I couldn't move. I couldn't walk away. Because they'll say, you could have walked away. I couldn't because he was blocking my path. He had his gun. He was 6'2", whatever the reason is, right? So if you, because that is what we call psychological detention. It does count as a detention even if you haven't necessarily said, I don't want to talk to you. But just always be silent when you're doing these things. Yeah.
So in communities where you have police officers that are kind of active members or in high schools and stuff
Right.
like that, when you encounter those same police officers in an unofficial capacity, would that be something that you would need to be concerned about, or can they be present at, say, events or something like that? Are they there in unofficial capacity, or is that something you have to
That's a really good
always-
question.
Yeah, always be afraid of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blurred line. Like, I mean, yes, there are police who come out to barbecues and stuff because they want to build relationships and get to know the community, and they're just talking and they just want to know who you are, what you do, and it's totally innocent. But at the same time, they are police, so if they notice that somebody is dealing drugs or doing something, they can still address that. So, again, you have to be very careful, kind of make your choices about what you're comfortable. If you know the police officer, you trust them, you think that they're just talking to you, and you can certainly talk, but we go back to everything you say can still be.
Yeah.
So, if a police like, hey, does that guy really deal drugs? And you go, yep, like you've given evidence, right? You're now a witness. So, it's just really being, as long as you know they're police, you always want to be a little bit careful. Because even if they're not actively policing at that time, or actively investigating something, they do have that overall responsibility to prevent crime, and so they are always going to have, part of their brain maybe going there. So just be really careful.
And if they're part of
Yeah.
your congregations, for example.
Right.
And whether or not they're in uniform or outside of uniform, does that make a difference?
No, I mean, once they're wearing uniform, like that identifies them as police, so you know they're police. They don't have to be wearing a uniform to be necessarily policing actively, right? There's undercovers. So if it's someone that you go to church with or mosque with or whatever, that's what you're asking about? Like someone that you see on a regular basis? I mean, the police officers are part of the community, right? So they're going to be in the community. And I think it very much is going to depend on your relationship with that person,
Yeah.
right? So I mean,
And using your best judgment in the circumstances.
I have friends and police officers, I talk to them, I tell them stuff, I mean, maybe not certain things. So again, it's your personal comfort. If you feel like this person is, investigating something or trying to find something out, then just be careful. But yeah, you can talk to your police friends or community members about your life.
And can you state something like, can I speak to you in an unofficial capacity?
There's no unofficial
No.
capacity
There's
with
no
police.
off-the-record conversations
No.
with police.
If you want to tell them something, they're going to note it. They're going to say, so-and-so told me this at such and such a time, and you could be a witness later. So yes, if you're going to do something like that, then be aware that that's what you're doing, and make sure it's something you can stand by, it's something you're okay with seeing in the newspaper, it's something you're okay with saying in court. And if you're not comfortable with that, then don't go there. I saw over here, there's a question. An Omar.
Do these rights still apply at airports or even at different borders when you doing with police? As I know that people, when they go to the American border, they're now being detained, especially since October 7th. This is a recurring thing that we're now seeing. So
That's like internet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
going to talk
that's-
about the CBSA later, but CBSA is
a
different. The
separate
Canada
issue.
border.
Yeah,
services,
but you do have rights at the border, but they may be reduced. They should be giving you notification of when you are entering like the border zone, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I think it comes up later. Omar,
Yeah.
you had something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, cultivating relationships with police
Yeah.
and also intelligence services is important.
Yeah.
But I would suggest that's where the leadership really comes in. The leadership in our communities do have off-the-record conversations with police on a regular basis, right? But they're in a different situation. The police are relying on them. So I would just, keep that in mind also, that it is possible to have off-the-record conversations with the police.
Is it though?
There-
Do you think they actually-
absolutely it
yeah?
is, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, that's where the relationship building comes in.
Yeah.
Right? There's officers that the leadership can contact saying, I don't want this to form part of the investigation, but we have concerns this is happening in our community. We're concerned this for trafficking or something is happening. We're concerned that young people are being targeted, and law enforcement is in a position to share sometimes with leadership information that other people don't necessarily have. They have access to databases. They can tell us, I can't say much to you, but this person is bad. You need to be careful. And so I just, I just want to say those conversations are happening, but maybe not at the front line level.
Okay.
But those relationships are being cultivated, because sometimes we do. Like, I do need to contact, or someone in leadership needs to contact an investigator or a detective or even the chief of police to say, without compromising your ethics and your position, can you tell us what's happening? And I think that's just important to know that those conversations are happening.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Next slide.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on? Yeah? Okay.
Okay,
Here we go.
undercover
Undercovers.
police. So, police in undercover investigations are allowed to lie about being a police officer, no matter how many times you ask them directly if they are a police officer. They can lie about anything else, including their name, their background, personal information, and they may break the law in very specific circumstances. They may dress like an unhoused person, like a business person, like a criminal. You will not know that they are in fact a police officer. So you should not talk about your case or your charges to anyone other than your defense lawyer when you're in custody, because anybody could be an undercover police officer.
They could be in your cell with you, telling you that they just got arrested for break and enter, and it's actually a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to get you to spill.
What's that?
That can cause someone a paranoia.
It happened to someone you know? Yeah?
It could
Yeah.
cause paranoia.
Oh yeah. Well, you should. Yeah, like you don't
You have
want
to be
to
careful.
in the jail, right? So just hide, by, be pleasant, but do not talk about your charges.
Yeah. Next slide. This is you.
This is me. Arrest. Okay, next one, please. So, you guys have all heard about warrants. So, a warrant is a piece of paper. It's signed by a judge. They give it to the police to allow them to do something. So, they allow the police to arrest a specific person. So that means that the police have come to the courts and they have sworn in information or something saying, we believe this person is doing X, Y, and Z, we need to arrest them. And the judge finds that credible, signs off on it, and now they have a document that they can come and arrest you. If they say they have a warrant for your arrest, so if they come to your home or your workplace or wherever, you have the right to see it. So you can ask, can I see the warrant? And make sure that it's actually your name, and make sure that it has either your name or it could have a description of you that is accurate. The reason why they want to arrest you, the order from the judge you should be arrested, it should be signed by a judge or justice of the peace. So it should look like that. It will say warrant for arrest at the top. It's a white sort of long piece of paper. And you can see that. And once that is valid, then they do have the right to arrest you. Next, please. If you're arrested, you can also be arrested without a warrant too. So if police come across you and they believe that you're committing an offense, or you just have committed an offense or about to commit an offense, they can arrest you without a warrant in the community. So you have all the same rights and responsibilities to remain silent, to speak to a lawyer, give your name and address. Now I know sometimes when police have an arrest warrant, they should be discreet about enacting it. Sometimes they want to be a jerk, or they want to make a big, embarrass you by coming, at your workplace or something like that. So you can certainly ask, can we do this quietly? I'll cooperate, and sometimes they will allow that. You can sometimes even say, can I get my jacket? If it's winter, like, can I bring my stuff? And they may allow that. But if they say no, just go with them. Next, please. Next one. Use of force by police. Okay, this is a big one. I suspect there may be some questions on this, perhaps. So they're only allowed to use as much force as is necessary to arrest you or to ensure a situation is safe. So any additional force is considered excessive. So really, they shouldn't have to use any. If you say, yes, I'll come with you, they may want to handcuff you. You put out your hands, they handcuff you, you follow them. There's no reason for them to shove you or push you or grab you or do anything else like that. That would be excessive force. And if you feel that the police use excessive force, tell your lawyer about it. If you have cuts, marks, bruises, or physical evidence, get pictures of it, go to a doctor. Sometimes when you see your lawyer the next day in the remand center, get them to take pictures of it and document that. The police are allowed to do a full search of you and your personal property if you get arrested. So if you have a backpack or a bag or a purse, they can look in that as well as in your pockets. If you're under arrest, do not physically resist the police. Don't ever do that. Even if you think that it's a wrongful arrest and they don't have grounds, do not kick, push, pull, run, or resist physically. If they ask you to put out your hands, put out your hands. Don't put them behind your back. Don't do anything like that because it could be dangerous. It could result in more charges or worse. So even if you think it's a wrongful arrest and they do have that warrant or they have asked you to and they have their badge, go with them, sort it out later. Your safety comes number one. Next, please. Any questions on that? Yes.
So I've seen in like a lot of protests, especially like in university campuses,
Mm-hmm.
that people do practice de-arresting sometimes. What do you think about that?
They practice which?
De-arresting. So if someone
Like trying talking them out of arresting you?
No, like if like someone's being arrested, someone will like just pull them away or like stop the police from taking them away.
Intervention.
That is dangerous because that's resisting arrest. That is obstructing the police from doing their duty. So if the police are arresting somebody, you shouldn't be getting in the way of that and obstructing that because you can get charged with obstruct police, resist police, whatever that may be. You can document it, you can film it. As we said, just don't get in the way. Like make sure you step away from where they actually are and document that. If you think it's unfair to that person for them to be arrested, you can ask the police, why are you arresting my friend? See what they say, record that, get the badge number of the police. Like there's a lot of other things you can do as a witness, but do not stop them from doing their duty. So that's, if people are saying to do that, that's scary.
Putting you at risk.
That gets people hurt or killed, right? So I would not recommend that. Okay, so right to remain silent is that. Oh, question, yeah.
So you said that police are allowed to search your personal.
When they arrest you, yeah.
Do they have the right to search your car?
That's a good question. It's depending on circumstances. So there are different searches for detention and arrest, which is maybe more technical than you need to be. But if you're being detained only, then they are supposed to pat you down for safety, make sure there's nothing hard or sharp in your pockets. Often the police will ask you, do you have anything hard or sharp that will hurt or poke me? You should say yes. If you have a knife in your pocket, just tell them, yes, I have a knife. They're going to find it in 2 seconds anyway. Or needle or anything like that. Arrests, they can do a more extensive search. So now, yes, they can look in your purse because they want to make sure there's no weapons in there or evidence or drugs. If you're in a car and you get pulled over and they've seen a gun in the car, let's say, yes, they're going to search that car. So what they'll do is they'll be pulling the person over for whatever reason, and let's say the police are looking in the window and they're like, oh, there's a bag with a gun in the back seat, I see a gun poking out. Happens a lot. At that point, everyone is going to be removed from the car. That car is going to be secured as an evidence scene, and they are going to go through every inch of that car to see what else is in there. Should they be doing that if it's not that kind of situation? Like if you're just driving and you get pulled over for speeding or something and they're like, oh, you missed probation, you have a warrant, there's really no need to be searching in the car if they haven't seen anything in plain view.
So if there's no evidential
reason. Yeah, like they should only be searching a car because they've seen evidence of a crime in that car. So no, they can't just do it with every traffic stop. Like they can't go and look in your car. If they pull you over speeding, there's no reason for them to be even removing you from the vehicle, right? You just get your ticket. Good question. Yeah, over here and then over here. Yeah.
Okay, so especially at the protest, and I'm not sure how much we've seen this in Canada, but we've seen it, like in Europe, there is excessive pressure and physical pressure being put on the people being under arrest, even though they say yes, like I'm cooperating, but they're still like punching them, pushing them, putting their face down, and that usually causes a huge trauma, for the person. Okay, how would you navigate this situation if you are ever in it? And it happened a lot recently, especially after the
I mean, that's the excessive force that we're talking about. There's no reason to be pushing you on the
Or
ground
5, 6 people,
if
or
you're
like,
cooperating.
yes,
Yeah.
or women, or like, you know, a young student, and yeah, like what's in it, witnessing there, it's in itself like traumatizing, so.
Absolutely. I mean, that's illegal. That is illegal use of force by the police. What do you do if you're in that situation? I mean, it depends. Are you by yourself? Obviously, if there's witnesses there, then it's really important to witness. And if you are witnessing that happening to somebody, you know, like if it's safe for you to do so, please document, film. You know, that's how these things get brought forward. If you're alone and that happens, I think your safety is really number one. So just cooperate, right? Like if they're pushing you around, don't fight back. Let them push you around. If you absolutely need to defend yourself, then defend yourself. But you know, better if you don't try to use any force on them. Just keep saying, "I'm cooperating. I'm cooperating. You can arrest me. Please stop using force on me." Try and de-escalate it as best as you can. But really, your safety is most important. If there's 6 people on you, and you're alone, just try and get out of it unscathed, right? But if you are with other people and somebody is witnessing that, then that would be very, very important to document and witness. And it's absolutely not permitted by them. And tell a lawyer as soon as you can that happened to you. Details, badge numbers, time, place, all of that.
If you get to that point, do you have the right to like make a case against the police?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be why you'd be talking to lawyers, because you might want to sue them. There's police complaints, I think we'll talk about a little bit later. They can even be criminally charged for that, like potentially, which may be more difficult to make that happen, but you'll talk to a lawyer about that and they would help you with your options. But absolutely, that's not acceptable. The media might be interested in that. So you would definitely want to pursue that, but later when you're safe. I think there was a question here. Yeah.
My question is more so about, like, say you are getting arrested and you were talking about, like, getting pat down.
Yeah.
I've heard, like, cases where, like, people have been sexually assaulted, especially, like, in Islam, too. We can't, like, touch opposite genders. So are you allowed to, like, request a female?
Yes, it should be same gender for any pat downs or physical searches. Absolutely, they should be. And I've even had times where they have held someone by the side of the road till they could get a female officer, because men should not ever be patting down a woman, unless there was like some very emergency situation why they should be able to do that. Default would be that you get same gender. So absolutely you can ask for that, and they should be. It should not be intrusive. If it's a pat down on a detention, some people, this is kind of, judges don't usually go with this. There's some, I mean, technically they shouldn't even go in your pockets and turn them out. They should just be feeling it from the outside. They usually do still go in your pockets, but they should not be asking you to take clothes off or anything like that. Like it's just a quick, unobtrusive pat down for safety. Make sure there's nothing sharp on this person. Arrest, it's going to be, yeah, they may want you to take off your jacket, and they may want items because it's arrest, and they now know that they will likely be taking you to the police station. So they do have the right to make sure that there's nothing that can endanger them as police that would hurt them. But yes, same gender always. Yeah.
So what is the, like, do you have to unlock your phone for the police if they arrest her?
We're getting to phone searches.
Yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get to phones. Phones is a whole separate thing. Yes.
This is a bit of a
Oh.
jump to this
Yeah.
question.
You have to.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, in terms of healthcare providers, what do police need to do to get information from any healthcare providers? Like, is there,
What do you mean?
like, if they're like, oh, did so-and-so come and see you?
Oh, like if you're a nurse or a doctor and they're asking you questions?
Yeah, like, is there a process that they have to go through to get information?
Well, personal health information, I believe you can't disclose that without very strict permissions. So you would follow the FIA or whatever it is in your province. You can't just hand that over because it's health information.
On the flip side of that, as
Yeah.
a healthcare provider, if you're seeing like mistreatment, is it fair to say, hey, can I grab your badge numbers because I have concerns about
Absolutely.
what is going on?
Yeah, like if they bring someone into the hospital and you see them being rough or something like that, then absolutely, like, get the badge number. You can make a complaint as a citizen, right? Absolutely, you can. Behind you, I think there was a question.
If you come to ask with who we wear hijab, so does that hijab count as sharp object?
Like there's a
Wanna
pin,
answer?
for example,
Oh.
a pin.
You want to answer that?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Let them know. They're gonna they'll probably notice it immediately. I'm just looking at you, but no, unless you're hiding. Hopefully, you're not hiding scissors up there.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I guess the pin, like, they'll probably. I mean, and again, they shouldn't be. A man should be asking you to take that off, right? Like, if they want to take it off, then they should be calling for a female officer to deal with that, because they shouldn't do that. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. So talk to a lawyer before you speak to the police after you've been arrested. So anything you write or say to police or other people may be used against you. We talked about that. And again, that could be words. It could also be she was crying, she was shaking her head, she was looking at that guy over there, anything. So there's no such thing as off the record discussion with police, except with, I guess, the exception that Omar talked about if you're having one of those high level leadership things. Next slide.
This is you.
Still me? Okay, detainment. So we've kind of probably covered some of this, but we'll see what's left. Next slide, please. So, as we said, there's a difference between detaining and arresting, right? So detaining is, sometimes it comes before arresting, and sometimes it's its own thing. So that's where the police, they're talking to you, they want to keep you there, but they haven't gone all the way to arresting you for an offense yet. So detainment is less serious than arrest, essentially. But it's still very serious, and it can lead to arrest. So take it seriously. So they can detain you when they're investigating a crime. So if they just want to talk to people about this thing happened and we think you were there, you may have some information. You can only be detained for an investigation if people have reasonable grounds to suspect that you're connected to the crime. So if you match the description of a suspect and your detention is necessary and reasonable in the circumstances. So they may not be sure it's you. They may know that it's, you know, black guy, about 6 feet, da, da, da. So there could be several people that look like that. You might be a person that potentially does. It might also be somebody else. But if they have reasonable grounds to believe it could be you, they can talk to you, or they can try to talk to you. They can only detain you for a reasonable amount of time. It's usually a short period. So if you've been detained and it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, start asking them, am I arrested now? Because normally they talk to you, let you go. If you're not sure whether you're being detained, you can ask the police, am I free to go, as we talked about. If they say yes, leave. If it's no, then okay, you know you're being detained. And if they don't answer you or they say none of your business or we'll get back to you later, detained. Next slide. So you have rights on being detained. The right to be told why you're being detained unless the answer is obvious. So if you're driving and they give you a breathalyzer and you blow over, I think it's a pass or fail, and you blow a fail, they're going to detain you. You know why. But otherwise they should say, you know, we're investigating a break and enter. We'd like to talk to you about that. Remember that reason they give you. Get their badge number or their name in case you want to make a complaint later or follow up with it. And in general, you do have the right to speak to a lawyer when you're detained before writing or saying anything to the police. So you can say, I would like to call a lawyer if they don't offer that to you. If you don't want to talk, you can say, I would like to remain silent. When you're detained, the police might do the pat-down search, which we talked about, for weapons, and they might look at your bags. They might open it and kind of peer in, but they should not be doing a bigger search than that. And if they are searching, they have to have reasonable suspicion that there's a safety risk to them or to the public. So we talked about that, I think. Next slide. We talked about this, I think, with your right to silence, that you need to be persistent, because even if you say, I want to be silent, they may still be talking and trying to convince you and trying to tell you things and make you feel like, it's weird, right? Because when you're one-on-one with somebody and they're talking, it's weird to not say anything, because that's not how we interact as people. Like normally if I come up to you and say, hey, how are you? You go, oh, I'm not bad, how about you? And we talk back and forth. So to have me going, no, 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 and you just sit there, is really weird, because you want to say, yeah, yeah, I agree, or no, that's not true, no, But you just have to, like I said, whatever it may feel awkward, weird, antisocial, whatever, just do it, because that's what they're trying to do, is get you to talk. And in fact, next slide, please. So there's actually, before we get to that, there's something called the read technique, which you can Google. And that is what police use to get people to talk. And it's an actual interrogation technique that they're trained in. And they got it from, when you brought up terrorism and stuff like that, that's where they got it from army interrogations of people in other countries during conflicts. So the read technique is REED. It's where they try to make you confess to things out of guilt and shame. So they try to build a rapport with you, try to get to know you and what kind of person you are. So it will seem very innocent. So they'll be talking to you about your work. So you say, well, that's not a big deal. Like, they can't, how can I get in trouble for that? Like, I'm a teacher. There's nothing, I'm not ashamed of that. So, oh, you work with kids all the time. That must be really hard. Like, what age do you teach? Oh, yeah, you know, my son's that age. Like, you have kids too? Oh, yeah, they must really miss you. Da-da-da. So it seems like it's totally innocent and it's just a conversation, but they're gathering up information about what's important. Oh, she really loves her kids. So this is a point we can use against her. So the first phase of it is that rapport. So that's why I say just don't say anything. Even if it doesn't seem to be connected to what they want to talk about, there's always a reason. They're never just talking. Then once they kind of know what makes you tick, then they start applying pressure. So what they do is they will often take a person that is way worse than you or what you're accused of and compare that to you. So let's say that they think that you've stabbed somebody. They'll say, oh, you know, you're not one of those crazy people that runs around with a gun shooting people, right? Like a knife, you know, that's not as bad as a gun. Yeah, that's right. I'm not a bad person, right? Nobody wants to be a bad person. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I did have a knife, right? So it's very tricky. So that's why you have to be, like, so careful. Like, in fact, I know, like, one lawyer told me that her boyfriend was a cop and he was learning the read technique. And he got her to confess to cheating on him that she never even did. Like using the read technique to show her how it worked. She didn't cheat on him, but she had like maybe had feelings for somebody, like, and she felt guilty about that. So he got her to like start spilling her guts about this, like with this read technique. And she also said that one time he was going to court because there was some biker that he had like investigated and the guy was having a trial and he had to testify, and her police officer boyfriend's going, oh, I'm kind of scared to go to court because this guy's really dangerous and like I'm scared that he's gonna be really mad at me for, you know, like getting his confidence and then turning him in, and he was kind of scared, and he goes to court and the biker guy's like, hey Ron, how's it going, buddy? Like he still thought they were friends because of the rapport that he had built, right? So he was scared of this guy. The guy was like still thinking they're friends because that's how skillful an interrogator this guy was, right? So you are up against professional interrogators. Don't try to outsmart them because that's often will happen, especially with youth. Yeah. They'll be like, oh, haha, I can just tell them stupid stuff because they're stupid and they'll just believe my, no, they won't. They'll just sit there and laugh and then use it against you. So do not play, right? Just don't say anything.
Mm-hmm. There's also another point if you wanted to say about the right to have a lawyer.
Oh yeah. I think I got that in.
I don't know whether that.
So in the U.S., if you guys watch Law and Order and stuff like that, you see the lawyer sitting in the room with the person. Does not happen in Canada. Don't expect that. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you can call and we can talk to you on the phone for as long as you want. And we can tell you techniques and we'll tell you like how, like I said, like putting your head on the table. I'll go through all that with people. But then once we hang up, you are in the room by yourself. Your lawyer doesn't come down. But there is an exception, at least here in Winnipeg, I think in most provinces, if you're charged with murder or something where somebody died or might die, like there's a car accident, you hit somebody and they're in critical condition, and there's a possibility they die, then what can happen is that your lawyer can come and sit with you before you go in the room. Mm-hmm. So what will happen is maybe you'll call the lawyer and they'll say, you know what, I'm going to come down there. It's going to take me like maybe an hour to get there. So if that happens, your lawyer will generally talk to police and explain that, but you can say, I don't want to say anything until after my lawyer comes here. Then they will sit with you in a room and you can have the conversation face to face and they can kind of give you whatever support you need, but then when they leave, you're still in the room by yourself, unless you're a youth, which we'll get to. Mm-hmm. They get to have the lawyer here, but adults do not.
Yeah, next slide.
Okay, oh no, wait, good. No, go back. So being detained while driving, so drive, oh yeah, go ahead.
Quick question, I was working recently with someone and they told me that a youth under 18 was in a room and being interrogated without a parent and without a lawyer. That was
no, they have, so we'll get to that, but I mean, I guess we'll cover it, we can cover it now. Mm-hmm. So youth are entitled to have a parent or guardian or other adult, like an auntie or a grandmother, in the room with them, mm-hmm. and they are entitled to have a lawyer in the room with them. Now what will happen sometimes is the police get frustrated because they can't get hold of those people right away. The kid may say, well, I want my mom here, and they call and mom doesn't answer, or mom says I'm at work, whatever, right? What the police are supposed to do is wait. So if it's going to take mom 3 hours, too bad, you wait. They get impatient, they feel like time's ticking by, so then they have a youth waiver. So that's a form the youth can sign saying, I don't want an adult here. I don't want my lawyer. police will sometimes pressure the youth to sign the youth waiver because then they can get on with the interrogation. So it's really important for youth to know do not sign that form. If you want your mom there, your dad there, whoever, do not sign that form. Keep telling the police, I want this person here. They have to wait. If the lawyer's late getting there, the traffic, whatever, they have to wait. If they're doing that, then the youth probably sign the waiver.
Yes, and I was shocked actually when the family were like, they didn't know what to do.
The youth may have waived the rights without understanding that they shouldn't have done that. And sometimes kids say, okay, that they don't want, kids are kids, right? My mom's gonna kill me, I don't want her to know I got arrested, right? So, I mean, if you feel that way, like hopefully there's another adult you trust. It doesn't have to be their mom or dad. It can be an auntie, an uncle, a neighbor, a teacher, a friend's parent. But they should call somebody and insist on having that person there. And definitely a lawyer, if nothing else, a lawyer. Yeah. So for driving, the police can randomly stop you to check your license, inspect your vehicle, and generally maintain safety on the road. So because it's driving, it's kind of this exception. So they can't stop you when you're walking, but they can do checks for license and registration, sobriety, especially on the holidays, right? Because a lot of people get drunk at Christmas, so they have the road stop, and they can be outside of restaurants and hotels and stuff like that at that time of year. And they're allowed to pull people over randomly to check that. So if they stop you, you have to give them your license, you have to give them your registration and your proof of insurance, and your name and address, and the name of the registered owner of the vehicle if that's not you. So that's because of road safety and other concerns. Next. I think that's you, right? We're going to try and motor through.
Yes.
I think we've covered some
We
of this
covered a lot,
stuff,
some of it. So we
yeah.
can go to the next slide, post-arrest interactions. So the police will continue to try to get information from you in a couple of different ways. So firstly, they might try to make promises, although they are not allowed to make promises and they will not follow up on them. They can try to do it to get you to make a confession. The only individuals who can make an agreement with you is the Crown Prosecutor. So don't make agreements or deals with the police, and speak to your lawyer.
Yeah, they can't get you bail, they can't get you a lesser sentence, the Crown does that.
They have to get your permission before they do a lie detector test. If you've already spoken to a lawyer and they ask you to do a lie detector test, you can speak to your lawyer again in regards to the lie detector test. Anything that you say during a lie detector test can be used as evidence, but the actual results cannot be used in court because they don't consider them reliable. But anything that you say during a lie detector test can be used as evidence. Next slide.
Why, if it's unreliable, why do they do that?
Try to get you
These
to
are great
speak.
questions.
To try to get you to speak.
Yeah. It's what you say while they're doing it. Because
Yeah.
people are like, oh my gosh, a lie detector, like I might as well just say it because I'm gonna
Exactly.
find out. So it's a pressure, psychological pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We can go to the next one.
Next slide.
There we go.
So, your rights. You have a right to refuse to make a written statement to the police. Sometimes they might come and say, hey, write down what happened with you regarding the incident that you were involved with. You don't.
Apology letter to the person you hurt is a big one. Write them a letter, say how you feel.
Don't do anything.
Mm-mm.
As we said before, you have the right to remain silent. You can also ask for an interpreter. This is something for many new immigrants. If you don't understand English well enough, you can ask for an interpreter to help you understand what the police are saying. You don't have a right to an interpreter when you're being questioned, but usually they'll try to bring one if you're being asked. But it's best to exercise your right to silence if they do not allow you to have an interpreter.
Because the interpreter might just be a cop that speaks that
Yeah.
language.
No, I have heard
Yeah.
stories in
Yeah.
which the interpreter
Yeah.
is translating things in a very specific way that was more favorable to the police. If you go to court, you do have a right to interpreter though, and police should provide you with access to medical care if it's required. For example, if you're diabetic and you need access to insulin, for example, they have to provide you with medical care. Next slide. Your right to speak to a lawyer is a very important right, as Zila knows, as a criminal lawyer. You have the right to speak to a lawyer as soon as you're arrested. As well, when we're speaking about being detained, you also have the right to speak to a lawyer if you're being detained. You have the right to use your phone as many times as you need to. You can make 50 phone calls in order to get through to a lawyer. Anything that you say to a lawyer is private and secret and cannot be repeated by the lawyer or anyone else in court without your permission. But you should be aware that potentially jail phone lines or mail that you send is not completely private. They may
Lawyer
be
line
listening.
is.
Mhm.
So if you're talking to a lawyer on the phone, don't worry, like they can't record that. But if you're talking to anybody else on the phone that's not your lawyer, they can.
Mhm.
So we get special privacy on the phone, but you don't with anybody else.
So I have a question that's, sometimes it's happening like, when you are arrested, you don't have the lawyer to call them. So in that time, like, the police can help you provide some
That's your point,
information
Drake.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a phone line for people who are arrested, detained, or in custody, which is called the Bridges line across Canada, where
Yeah.
you can get access
Legal
to
aid.
legal aid,
Legal
to
aid.
duty counsel, to a lawyer who can answer questions for you in that specific situation.
24 hours a day, doesn't cost you anything,
Mhm.
anyone can call.
Hmm. Next slide.
So always ask that. If you can't get hold of your own lawyer, then ask for legal aid instead.
Hmm.
So it's free, yeah?
It's free. Yeah,
Always for.
100% free.
So yes, speaking in regards to duty counsel and legal aid, if you have to go to court before you have had the chance to call a lawyer, you can get help from duty counsel. So they're a lawyer who works at the courthouse to help people who don't have their own lawyer. Not everyone gets legal aid. You know, there's special qualifications by each province, whether it's, you know, having a low income, and there has to be no other way to get help. For example, if you have a low income but you have property, a lot of property, you may not qualify for legal aid, for example. But it varies province by province. Next slide. After you've been arrested, the police will decide either to release you or keep you in jail. And so they'll typically hold you for 24 hours before they have to bring you before a judge for a bail hearing, except in very specific circumstances. If you are released, police can still rearrest you if they find more evidence later on. And the police may give you an appearance notice asking you to show up for a court at a certain time, or possibly go to a police station to be fingerprinted later on.
Make sure you go, because you can get charged by not going. Yes, Omar?
Yeah, I just want to share, if you get called by a friend of yours in the Muslim community and they want to involve you in the release process, just please know what you're getting into. Because the release process sometimes relies on people's financial obligations, and sometimes I see from the other side, folks getting involved because there's a good brother, you know.
You mean as a surety or something like that?
Yeah, like surety. So just be aware that if you get those calls, you will be put under spiritual pressure to help out folks in the community who, in my opinion, should go to jail for their entire lives. So, you know, just because there's some really nasty stuff that's happening in our community to children, to women. So just be, particularly the brothers, if you get a call from someone who's wanting you to get involved in a release and they've been charged with domestic assault, just think about what you're doing and think about the financial obligations you're being involved in. And also think about if they've been charged with crimes against children, oh brother, it's all a lie, etc. Blah. Be conscious of the fact that you're connecting your name to someone who is now not allowed even to be around kids. So as much as we are conscious of our own rights, also think about when you're getting involved with someone who has been charged by the police, in particular if it's a crime against another Muslim or a Muslim child or a Muslim sister, just be aware, you know, of what you may be getting yourself into as punishment.
And as a surety, like you have to pledge money, so it might be against your house. If that person doesn't follow the rules, the court can come to you and say, we want that money now. You're responsible for making sure, if they're not allowed to be around kids, that they're not around kids. If they break that and they're around kids and they get caught, you're going to be on the hook for that money, as well as potentially your reputation. You might have to have them living with you. You might have to have them under a curfew, and you're the person that has to say, like, you need to be home at 10 every night. And if they say, forget it, I'm going out anyway, now you have to make a choice. Do I call the police and turn this person in and say they're not following their conditions? In which case that person's not going to be happy with you. So do you want to take that on? I think that's a very good question. Because often that is what will happen with bail, is that they may need a surety or cash. They may need $1,000 to get out, and they're calling you to bring that down to the court. Yeah.
5 minutes.
We've been given a 5-minute warning. Next slide. Let's see how much we can get through. Next.
Covered.
Detention, yeah, we've already discussed detention, we
We
can.
can skip that.
We can skip
We should get to
this.
phones, because I know they asked about phones.
Yeah, let's.
We
skip
talked
this.
about
It's a bit
bail, I
of a-
think, a
We
little
can
bit.
share this PowerPoint too as well.
Yeah.
We already
I
discussed
think
bit of
we
search
probably
and
covered
seizure.
this. Keep going.
Never resist a search. Yes, okay, what's considered private? This is a good one.
This is
Deal,
a
you
good
wanna
one.
talk about
People
that?
ask about phones, so we'll see if we can get through a little bit of this. So you do have a high expectation of privacy in certain things. So your body, obviously, which includes your DNA and anything from your body, and your home. Whether that's a house, apartment, a trailer, wherever it is that you are living, a room somewhere, and your phone or personal computer. So those are 3 things that we all expect. Nobody's touching any of that without your consent, right? But you have a lower expectation of privacy in your car because of what we talked about with road safety, and your luggage when you're traveling, because you know that that's subject to a search potentially. And if you're a student, the school can look at your locker and your stuff because of administration and safety and stuff like that. Next, please. You do not have privacy in your garbage. I think that's an important thing to note. So if you throw something out, even if it's still in your driveway, in the garbage can, the police can go look at that and be, well, why are the cops looking at my letters I threw out? Because you threw them out, so you abandoned that right to privacy. So don't put stuff in the garbage that you don't want police to see. If you leave DNA at the scene of a crime, you obviously don't have any privacy in that. So if your blood is found somewhere, they can test that. Somebody else's stuff if they give permission for police to search, and that's also if it's not your house, right? Like if you're living with your parents and your mom says the police can come in and search the house, they can, and they can come in your room because it's in your parents' house. Next, they cannot search you at random or on a hunch, and they're not allowed to discriminate against people based on their race. So while we know that racial profiling is not allowed, it happens all the time, and police can also be looking for someone based on race, and that can allow a lot of racial profiling. Yeah.
I do have a question. If you get arrested, do you have the right to decline, like a mouth swab or something like that, or do you have to comply?
You have to comply. Like they normally wouldn't do, they more likely would do fingerprints, but you would have to comply with that. But if they did want to take DNA, you can ask to talk to your lawyer first. Because that wouldn't be a normal thing they would do in an arrest. That means they want a bodily sample. So you certainly can say, I'd like to speak to a lawyer before I consent to that. And your lawyer will tell you whether you have to or not. Next. So bodies, I think we talked about pat down searches versus strip searching. They shouldn't be strip searching people often. It should be very limited. Like they think you've put something in your body. And then if they are doing a strip search, it has to be same gender, it has to be in a private place, all that. They shouldn't be doing it, by the side of the road. If they think you have something in your body cavity, they have to have some sort of evidence of that, and then they should give you a choice to take it out yourself or have a medical person take it out before they do that. So you shouldn't just let them go and take it out. Yeah.
So I have a question about maybe this is according to my work duties or experiences. Every crime has same process for first day or on time just arrested, same process.
Is it the same process?
Yeah.
I mean, every situation is different, but I mean, certain things should always be there, right? Like you always have the right to silence. You always have the right to call your lawyer. You should be doing that first. There's going to be some kind of a search and pat down when they take you into custody.
Yeah.
But
They should tell you why you're being arrested.
why you're being arrested? But
Sometimes in violence cases.
domestic violence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So same process if you
If you're accused of it, or you mean if you're the victim of it? Okay, so victims, I mean, that's a separate issue, but if you're a victim, and the police have showed up and they've arrested the partner, is that what you're asking? You're a witness now, right? So they're going to want a statement from you. So they will be talking to that person to try and have them explain what happened and what the violence was, and they should be treating that victim respectfully. If the person doesn't speak English, they should be getting someone to interpret that person's statement, and they will want you to tell what happened, and they will be writing it down, everything that you say. Occasionally they video, but mostly it would be a written statement.
even on that time you can say the victims can't say that
They don't wanna
I'm
give a
liar
statement?
or liar or something.
They-
And I can tell you.
Like, they don't want to make a statement, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
They can decline to make a statement,
Please don't.
but, yes, I mean,
this is the one situation
Yeah.
where victims should give statements. I don't
Yeah.
want victims of domestic assault not giving statements because they're afraid of their husband. So those are situations where you should talk to the police.
You should, and you can ask for support. So there is victim services that can provide supports for that. So if you want to have somebody there with you or something like that, that would make you more comfortable, right? Like you can tell the police why you're not feeling comfortable making a statement. Maybe they want to go to a different location. They'd rather do it at the police station, not at the house where he just was, or things like that. So they certainly can ask for accommodations if they need that. But yes, I would agree.
I think it's very hard to do it right there and then.
Yeah.
And also you can give an oral statement and then later on you can go to a location, it's called
Yeah.
a soft interview location.
Yeah.
Particularly for kids, in Winnipeg, we have a space just for kids, where it's a soft location, where it's not like the environment of a police station.
It has toys and it's
Yeah,
got couches and
toys, yeah.
it's
You
really
can do
nice, yeah.
series of statements. There can be the initial statement that's taken by the police, and then you can arrange through, if you want to get counsel to help you or an elder in the community, because I know domestic assaults are very difficult to prosecute,
Yeah.
let alone for victims to come forward. So those can be set up, and usually the officers who
Yeah.
are dealing with the victims, hopefully are trauma informed and trained to do that.
And that's another thing, right? Like you can say, oh, I should have told them this. You can call them back and go, I didn't tell you this because I was upset, I forgot, but there's this other thing I want you to know about. So it's not a one-time statement and that's it.
But just be aware, if you do
Yeah.
that, people like Zilla,
Actually,
Try to get it right try to get it right the first time, but people can only do what the best they can do, right?
actually, I had a client that she told me that
Yeah.
she has a past
Yeah.
experience about the
Mhm.
violence. Like after that, she was regret that she told me that I don't know what should I do. Like, so you told me that
She can get a lawyer. So I mean, there are lawyers, and even though I'm a defense lawyer, I have also helped people on the other side to help them with making statements and things like that. So they can certainly do that. There are victim supports. There are lots of, like, I know Women's Resource Center and places like that. Probably this organization will probably help you, right? So you can get Shahina to come and sit with you, or somebody that you trust when you're going through this. So you don't have to do it on your own. I think we're just about done, right? I know people did ask about phones quickly. Do you want to
Yeah.
address phones
Yeah.
for like 30 seconds? I know somebody asked about searching phones, and that's super important.
Yeah, there's very
Today,
specific
right?
tests to be able to search phone. They typically they have to have a warrant. If we maybe go to they have to have a warrant typically to be able to search your phone, except in very urgent or emergency circumstances. So
So they can't just say, give us your phone.
No, they
do
can't.
that.
I've
No.
seen, like, in some cases, they would just use your Face ID to unlock it.
They're not
Yeah.
supposed to do
No,
that.
no.
That's the privacy in your body, right?
yeah, and there's even some
So-
slides in regards to like protests. Like before you go to a protest, there's even like a recommendation
Yeah.
like have a number passcode. Don't do fingerprint
Yeah.
or face because sometimes that can help them access your phone more easily.
Always put if you want privacy in your phone, they'll put in a password, because if you have a phone with no password, they'll say,
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't want privacy. So make sure
There
it
you go.
has a password,
Mm-hmm.
which you don't have to share.
I think we're good.
I think we're out of time.
Yes, I have to
We
give you
will
that.
share
send
we will
it to-
share the
yeah.
PowerPoint. It has more information, including
It has
both
our
CBSA
emails
and
if you have
CSA.
questions.
Wonderful.
Yeah.